1 Hour World War II from Worthington Games allows players to play the entirety of the war in about an hour. We're going to first rebox the game and then give you a quick preview of it, all in less than 10 minutes here on Legendary Tactics. This video has been brought to you by our sponsor, Noble Knight Games. If you like war games like 1 Hour World War II, Noble Knight Games is one of the best places to find it. They have one of the world's largest selection of games, and you can buy, sell, or trade new, rare, and even out-of-print board games, role-playing games, collectibles, and miniatures. Please check out the link in the description and help out the channel at the same time. I had the pleasure of chatting with the designer Clint Warren-Davey about this game about a year ago, maybe a little bit less than that. This is a game which is essentially Axis and Allies, but condensed into an hour. I'm going to show you the blocks here, just going to suck them back up into the plastic bag there, and then we'll get a good view of the map. The map is a very interesting, kind of quirky, but functional setup where it takes a little bit, it looks very simple in many ways, but there's all sorts of different terrain and supply considerations that you have to take into account. We're going to fold it up. It's a nice mounted board, nice and sturdy, and I always love that in a war game. I'm not a big fan of the paper maps that they used to do. And next up we have the player aids of various sorts. We have the counters as well. There are not that many counters. It's one sheet and there are a lot of blanks, so you don't have to worry about counter density in this game. We've got the player aids that help track the optional rules especially, as well as the play sequence and that sort of thing. And then we have the player cards, and this is really kind of the heart of the game where you're going to track the actions and reactions. You can see we've got the Axis of Germany and Japan, and the Allies are the Soviet Union, the UK, and the United States. And they're very solid cardboard cards here. I wish they had a bit of a recessed track for the yellow cubes, but other than that, they're fine. We also have the rule book, and it looks dense, but it's actually not too bad to read. We are fortunate to be sent 2 rule books in this game. It's not something most people would normally celebrate, but I like the fact that I could have one rule book upstairs and one downstairs when I was learning the game. It was very helpful. Didn't have to run up and down those stairs too much. And then we'll put the box lid back on. And we always like to preserve our games, and one of the ways we do that is by putting the plastic shrink wrap back onto the game to make sure it's dust-free and well preserved for the next play. So we recommend this. Just pull it tight and squeeze it on, and it should work perfectly well with little effort. And we're also going to, just for good measure, put it back into the box that it came in with the wrap and so forth. You can't go wrong with this, and again, it makes sure that the game is perfectly preserved for your next play. And now we're going to do a preview of the game. So I wanted to get this game into the studio just to give you an overview of how it works.
Yeah,
we played a game.
We did, yeah.
And that was a few weeks ago now.
It was,
so
yeah.
I may need to refresh your memory
That's right,
on how exactly everything works. So the game itself is essentially like Axis and Allies. But
that's right.
You can play it in about an hour.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's really condensed.
And it's a little bit different, but there's a lot of similarities. And in fact, I was thinking it'd be really neat to actually substitute the markers for like little Axis and Allies pieces.
The actual,
to play that way, because
yeah.
I think it would work really well.
Be cool.
So anyway, the key engine of the game is these actions. And so, each nation basically has the same actions that they can take, which is build more armies. And they would come from the reserve onto the board or from spent into reserve. Okay. Then you have offensive, which is an attack. And then you have the strategic move where you can kind of redistribute pieces wherever they are connected, wherever they're in supply.
Okay.
And, so that's how you can build up in the UK before D-Day or what have you.
Right.
And then upgrade means to move one of these cubes over. So you can build your industrial capacity, which allows you to build more units.
Right.
You can build your Air Force, which allows you to be more effective on land combat, or your naval aviation, which allows you to be more effective in sea combat.
And this is the opening setup board,
This is
right?
the opening setup right here.
Okay, right.
So you can see the Axis, Germany here. This is before France has been invaded, before the Balkans have been invaded. It's basically right after the Poland has fallen. So it's right at the beginning of the war. Technically, it starts in 1940.
And I was the German side, and I remember doing that blitzkrieg option, which almost won me the game. So it actually kind of tries to follow, I think, a little bit of that World War II
absolutely
kind of historical piece.
That's what's neat about the game, is that the designer Clint Warren-Davey wanted to make it so it followed the narrative of World War II, but you could do different stuff and see how it would go. Whereas Axis and Allies has never been accused.
It's a little more of a die roller, right?
Yeah, it's never been accused of being historical. So.
Right.
So you take your action, but then whatever action you take opens up a reaction. So for just because I have the U.S. Right in front of me,
here,
if the U.S. chooses to build, then the German side has the option of, if they've got the fleet in play, they can you do submarine warfare.
Okay.
So there's every time that an action is taken by any power,
there's a trigger.
They have, exactly. And you have the option to respond.
Very cool.
And so if they do an offensive, then the U.S. can even respond to their own action.
And I noticed there's three different countries.
Yep, so all three can respond if you want.
Okay.
But the U.S. can even respond to their own action and do a Marine Corps, or Japan can do island defense, or German can do Kampfgruppe.
Okay.
So it's got this neat thing where there's no downtime, because whatever action your opponent takes, you have to look and see, is there a reaction I can take?
Right.
Where would I do it? So there's really not a lot of downtime. You're going to be engaged the whole time.
Right.
And what's neat about that is, so you've only got a few actions. The U.S. starts out with one. The Soviet Union only starts out with one action per turn. But over time, as time goes on, they get other additional actions.
I noticed that in our game, how the game kind of tilted. It's slow. It was one direction. It's slowly, because if you even look now, like Germans start off with 3 actions, whereas U.S. is
U.S.
one,
is one, Soviet Union is one.
So they actually, but it tilts.
Yeah.
The longer you can stay in the game.
Yeah. So it may only be just the first turn is boom, 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 done, and you're on to the next turn.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's
and at the end of the turn, the way it's scored is there's certain spaces that have stars, or they have flags, because they're a capital or whatever, important space. Those are all worth victory points. So you add the net difference.
Okay.
And that difference, the loser has to lose their political will.
Oh.
And they start at 10, and it lowers by that difference every turn.
Okay.
If it ever goes to 0, then the other side wins.
GG. Right.
So if you could have a situation where the Axis have expanded and they're being pushed back, but they drain the political will of the Allies, and so they don't end up the Allies don't end up winning, because they give up before and come to a truce before the Germans and Japan really falls. Right. So it's kind of a different dynamic that way. You also, the Allies have to capture the capitals in order to win.
Okay.
Or drive the Axis political will down. But yeah, just a really, really simple.
And the map's not huge either.
It's not huge.
Really pretty compact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the map is kind of interesting, because there's various spots where you can kind of, if you're in the Indian Ocean, for example, if there's an anchor, you can kind of cut through
I see. So the Middle East,
to
or
the Middle
Southeast
East,
Asia,
to the Mediterranean,
to Japan,
right? And you can,
or China.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
interesting.
And there's a few little exceptions and intricacies, but that's really the game.
Wow.
And you play with dice, but it's not like Axis and Allies where you're rolling lots of dice.
Yeah.
The dice can potentially just kind of randomize the results. But if you roll a number between 1 and 3, it doesn't do anything.
Okay.
If you roll 4 or 5, it adds 1 to your army strength, and if you roll 6, it adds 2 to your army strength.
Oh, okay. So there is a little
bit of
play there,
variability. But if you want to, you can play the game entirely without dice and play it like chess.
So they have kind of that either or option.
Yes.
All right.
And so if you like to have a bit of variety, a bit of randomness, you can have it, but you don't need it. You can literally play this like a game of chess if you want to.
Excellent.
And there's with no randomness, no luck whatsoever. It's all based on your strategy. Right. So yeah, that's basically how the game works. I just wanted to kind of give you an overview. I'm looking to do some more coverage for this game in the near future.
We should definitely do a playthrough.
That would be great. Hey, as long as you got an hour, we can pull it off. All right? So thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to get out there,
get gaming, and be legendary.